Hi, I'm Jennifer, here with the trunk show of quilts for you from the book Stashtastic 2. Many of you might have seen Doug Leko's first book called Stashtastic and you loved it. Well, here are 12 more patterns for fat quarter quilts. Now, Doug is a huge fan of fat quarters. He thinks they're the best pre-cut there is. If you're not familiar with fat quarters, it's a half yard of fabric cut in half along the fold, so 18 by 21 inches or so. And it gives you a little bit more fabric to work on cutting larger pieces or doing appliques if you like to do that. They're also the thing at a quilt shop where you might be inclined to just pick up a few, pet them in your hand for a while, put them into your shopping basket and take home with you because they're kind of addictive. But you'll see why Doug loves them so much. So the first quilt in the book is this one that's behind me, and it's called Sparkle. What I love about this is we don't often see the stars or the design of a pattern recede, but that's what Doug has done here with his choice of a gray tone-on-tone sort of print here that makes these stars that are kind of wonky, they have different sizes of points, recede, and the background of all these scrappy squares really pop out. I love that. This is called Sparkle, and what a great way to get started making quilts with fat quarters, whether you're buying them new or getting them from your stash. The next quilt I'm going to show you is one that all quilters will love, called Spooling Around, and he used a variety of batiks for this one and just used an assortment of the similar colors, so all pinks, all blues, all oranges. He picked from his assortment of fat quarters so that he could create these spools. There's really nothing quite so satisfying as looking at an assortment of beautiful rainbow colored spools, and spooling around is a great way if you're a quilter to showcase your love for threads. Now, one of the fabulous things that Doug has added to this book are color options, because sometimes you may say to yourself, well, I'm not really working with batiks, or I don't have that in my stash. So here he's given you a color option, and this one I know uses me and my sister fabrics, just a really playful assortment. And here he did not stick to the one color per spool, but sort of mix them up. So if you're a variegated thread fan, maybe this is more for you. And in the book, for 9 of the 12 quilts that are shown, he gives you a color option to give you an idea of how you might make it in another colorway. So it's like getting 21 ideas with those 12 patterns. Next up is a quilt called Stargazing. And I'm going to fold this back here at the blues so you can see really the rainbow of colors that goes all the way down and across this quilt. This uses 17 fat quarters. It's a double star block that you can see in there with a checkerboard in the center of the stars and sort of a confetti of stars in the background that he chose for that. And really just a lovely assortment. If you like that ombre effect, Stargazing may be for you. Maybe you're a fan of the holidays, and this one is for Halloween. It's called Interwoven. I want to hold it up here for you to take a look at, because for sure you see the stars, but do you also see sort of checkerboard or pathways going along? And the key to this one is that your background has to clearly contrast with your prints that you choose. So he's using gray and black and orange, and then he's got a very light black on white background print that he chose. But you could certainly do this in other colorways. It wouldn't have to be for Halloween. That's just the mix of prints he chose here, and it's super fun. And he's got a really cute dot-to-dot print on the back as well. This one is aptly named Framed, and you'll see why. This one uses lots of fat quarters. It's a very scrappy mix, even though it's a controlled pattern of just blues and creams and the white background. But even along the border edge here, you can see he's used a scrappy mix from his fat quarters. The blocks are 21 inches, so they're super big and easy to piece together, and you get a lot of bang for your buck with Framed. Now, maybe you prefer something with a little bit smaller square to it, and this one is called Pathways. And in this case, he used just 11 fat quarters. You could use this as a large wall hanging, a lap quilt. We've even shown it in the book as a table topper for a birthday celebration. The blocks on this are rectangular, so that's a little bit different than you usually see, but you can see those pathways that go through there with the white print fabric that he's chosen, and that's the consistent one throughout. And then I do love this little coral pink border that he added to frame it, and he picked up that color, I think, from his choice of border prints. Okay, this one is called Woven Stars. And I think this one is sort of a fool the eye. It looks a little more difficult than it really is. It's really just blocks set side by side, and it kind of looks like they twist and turn and rotate, but he's got tips in the book for how to build this in a way that totally makes sense, where it's just 4 quadrants of each block. You're making them the same and just rotating them around. So Woven Stars, you get a really dramatic effect, and again, it's just the play of lights and darks and putting those together in a special way. And even the light stars here are a mix of scrappy prints, and that's where having a lot of fat quarters in your stash or a big collection of fat quarters is an advantage to getting that scrappy look that you love, and maybe you're not confident in pulling them, but you get a bundle of fat quarters that go together and it plays well. So this is another one of those color options for Woven Stars, and he's used an assortment of blues, both prints and batiks and light colors, and just made a 3 block version to turn it into a table runner. So a very different look from sort of the earth tones and dark beige and light gold colors he used. Here it's much lighter and sort of a softer palette. So again, showing you how to make the most of those patterns by the colors that you choose. This next quilt is called Radiant Wreaths. And what do you see here? Do you see there are sort of some strip piece chains that run between the blocks? Do you see the plus signs? Do you see the dark wreaths in the center of the blocks? Again, a lot of variety in this. Lots of different fat quarters used in a variety of colors, and a beautiful tone-on-tone white print that sort of makes those wreaths pop out. Okay. This beauty is the cover quilt, and it is called Pinwheel Pizzazz. So you see there are 2 blocks in this quilt, an A block and a B block, and you get the pinwheels that pop out here, and the sashing is an interesting way to help you put this together. When you see the book, you'll understand that it's just the pinwheels are actually formed as the blocks come together. So Pinwheel Pizzazz. I love a pattern that surprises you when you go to put it together. Whirligig is another block where the sashing is the key in how these come together as well. So lots of flying geese, and then you see those diagonal rows of sort of the salmon pink color going through, and really a nice mix of color with darks and lights playing well. This next one, before I unfurl it, I'll kind of show you the back. Doug has used lots of fat quarter extra pieces on that. That's actually the back of the quilt. The front of this is right here, and it's called A New Trick. So if you're familiar with the card trick block, you know that this is a variation of a card trick block, and you sort of looks like those really dark black pieces are weaving in and out and over and under, and it's all about fooling the eye. It's just a construction trick. There's no partial seams, no anything. You're just putting together a fun play of colors to create that look by carefully placing your darks. That's called A New Trick. And last but not least, this is called Amazing. So it is amazing, And it has sort of that gridded look as if it were a garden maze or an English garden that's very well structured. And you have dark print blocks, dark prints in each block and a light print in each block. And then he has some where he sort of mixes up the value so that you don't see it so clearly. And I think that adds to the movement of the quilt overall. So those are the quilts, and the patterns are featured in the book Stashtastic 2 by author Doug Leko. Look for it wherever you buy books or at shopmartingale.com.